PokerStatic.com. We bring you the interviews you want to hear. Now with your hosts, Bret Oliverio and Eric Bickel, the Poker Static Hot Seat.
What's up? Thanks for checking out the Poker Static Hot Seat. Bret Oliverio, Eric Bickel, and joining us tonight, his name is Ben Sulsky. You know him as Sauce1234. And basically, here's the deal. We were putting together a list of poker players that we wanted to speak to, and I really didn't know much about Ben, but I always saw a guy playing the nosebleed, no-limit hold'em games. I know he dabbles in PLO a little bit as well, but he always seemed to be battling Patrick, battling Ivy from time to time. So I said, hey, we got to get Ben on the show. So Ben, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, guys. Happy to be here.
Now, Ben actually joins us from, is that in a dorm room, an apartment at the University of Toronto?
This is my apartment. I'm not on campus. I'm just, in the city.
And this is your fourth school, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Initially I went to UMass Amherst, and then I dropped out for about a year and a half to travel and play cards.
Right.
And now I've gotten back to school in the past year and a half or so.
Now, I know a lot of this has been documented already online, but for people that haven't sort of done their research, kind of just give a little bit of the background of how you began playing. You started playing with some buddies, like most guys do, like in high school, right?
Yeah, so I started playing there was a huge poker craze when I was about, 15, 16. I think that was true of a lot of people after Moneymaker. And I started playing in high school, and I sucked a lot and lost, a bunch of $5 games after school. But I realized, because my parents are both card players, and I've been playing cards since I was young, except they played bridge. And I realized that this is something that I wanted to get good at, and I wanted to quit my shitty-ass job, pushing carts at the local supermarket. And so I studied my ass off and eventually was able to do that.
When did you really start studying? What age did you get serious about learning poker?
Basically, that was when, trying to think, I was probably, first thing I did is I started playing for fun on the play money tables, and I ran my 1,000 play money chips up to $1 million. And then I realized there was skill involved, and I felt like I could do it. And then later a friend turned me on to Poker Tracker, that I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know about the forums, I didn't know about any of that stuff. And then I saw there were a lot of guys who actually were good, and they were saying why they were good.
Right.
And that was I was about 17, 18, something like that. So I was older actually. I was 20.
Now, obviously you're a bright guy. Were you somebody that killed it in school? Did you slay on your SATs? Were you always dominant in math? Give us a little bit of your academic background.
Yeah, I'm not much of a I don't like math very much. It's a tool that I use for poker, but it's easy for me to study math and poker because if I study it, then I make money.
Right.
But in school, I just really didn't give a shit most of the time. I'd rather, when I was in high school, I'd rather, just hang out with my friends and skip class. And so I did well enough to get by and to not, have some options open for college, but I never really gave a shit.
So it wasn't like you were the most talented math student in your class or anything like that?
Oh, God, no. No. Not even close.
Right. And then, so you started to learn mostly by, I know I read you exchanged a lot of hand history on 2+2 and some other forums. Did you have other buddies that kind of grew up with you along the way?
Yeah, well, I had a friend, Cy Watson, who basically taught me how to play cards, and he was just he was the dominant player in our home games when we were 15, 16. He would just bluff every pot and get really aggressive, and he was a big guy in the basketball team. He was 6'5", and he'd get really pissed, and he'd just punch walls when he lost. So I think people would fold just to get out of his rage. And so he taught me how to play.
Now, is athletics in your background? Do you play any sports, or do you enjoy watching sports? What kind of competitive background do you have?
I always loved playing sports, but I was just too goddamn slow to ever be good at any sports. So like, I made like my JV basketball team in high school, and I was on the ski team, and I play squash now a lot. But I was never athletic enough to like, be really competitive, and that's why I went with cards.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like how you got from just sort of sucking in your home game with your buddies and pushing a cart in a supermarket to becoming one of the big killers online. And I'm having a hard time putting the pieces together. I think when you started playing, the training sites weren't really out there, right? I know you're a coach now at Lego, but I don't believe Lego was around when you first got started. I just don't understand. I don't understand how you just. I know you said Poker Tracker helped a lot. I've been using Poker Tracker for 6 years. It hadn't done anything for me.
Yeah.
How did you learn to utilize it? How did you learn to think about the game? Was it just simply playing hands? What was it?
I think a lot of people make sort of critical thinking mistakes when they study poker, and they learn things which don't help them and sort of like push them back. And a lot of people try to oversimplify the game of poker in ways that I think hurt them. It's hard for me to really explain exactly how. It's better in context. But I think that what I'm best at is I'm always learning and I'm always trying to get better. And I think that over the last 4 years, I was able to just keep learning steadily, and that's enabled me to like stay ahead of the curve. And I think I know when I'm learning and when I'm getting worse, and I'm very like self-critical. And I think that's helped me out a lot.
What do you mean people try to oversimplify the game? Give us an example.
Like a good example is like people use heuristics, like or just rules which they don't have strong reasons for. Like a good example is they'll say like, and even very good players will say this all the time. They'll say like, in an aggressive 6-max game, you should never fold kings preflop, and that's true in 99% of cases. But that extra 1% of cases, if you can think about the game more critically and figure out where your rules don't apply and figure out little edges to push, then that can really help you, especially in the nosebleeds where everyone else is thinking as well.
Let's get back into, so you're playing the play money games. You run it up to $1 million. You say, you know what? I think I can actually do this for real. And then you do what most of us do. You deposit a few $100 or whatever, and you start in the micro stakes. Some of us are still stuck in the micro stakes, but you start to run it up there. And from reading, it sounded like a lot of it was just through sheer aggression. You learned how to 3-bet and selectively sort of do that, and that really helped you rise quite a bit early on. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of an epiphany for me when I realized that poker is both about, sometimes it's about having the best hand and getting someone to pay you off, and sometimes it's about having the best hand, 25% of the time when they call, but then they fold another, 90% of the time. And that was huge for me, so I figured out spots where I couldn't be worse than 30% if we got all the money in, and I just bet my ass off, and if they folded, great, and if they called, then, a third of the time I'd still stack them. And that was really effective back when people played too tight. This was, in 2008, something like that.
Just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So let's just say you deposited, I believe you deposited 500, lost that, borrowed another 500. What did you run your bankroll up to just simply running people over with aggression?
Yeah. Oh, that was later, actually. I never actually deposited. I did.
Oh, okay.
I ended up, when I was in high school, I made, $5,000 and then cashed everything out back to zero, and then a year later I deposited that 500.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so that got me up to about 510 the limit. So that was, I ran up my roll to maybe 75,000 or something, and then that sort of didn't work anymore because people would trap me, things like that.
So when did
you realize that? When did you realize, okay, well, I'm up to 510, but I'm going to have to figure out other ways to win pots? Was there a moment that kind of just hit you?
It was when I just started losing money. So, I've been playing in a certain way and sort of, playing by the seat of my pants. I hadn't really, studied all that much. I just figured out a few little tricks that worked for me. And then I got up to 510, and some of these guys, who'd been playing for, 5+ years, been beating the party games for a long time, and I just started losing money. So I lost maybe half my roll, and I decided to drop back down to 2, 4, 3, 6 and sort of rethink my game.
And then how did you go about doing that? Was it just like more studying? What did you look for when you were studying? I mean, I look at my hands, I look at my poker tracker thing. I don't know what to look at. How did you know what to focus on? How did you know where to find a leak?
Yeah, so once you get to a certain level of poker, it's hard to just look at a hand and be like, oh, this is the big epiphany that I'm doing wrong. This is what I need to change. And so once you get to a certain level, you just got to look at every hand, even if you think you played it well, and send it to 10 friends, every single goddamn hand. And then eventually you'll find something that you didn't even think you were doing wrong that someone else points out that you were doing wrong. And then if you can remember that and remember why, and you can slowly build these little pieces up, and then eventually when you take the sum of all these little parts, you end up getting a lot better.
So it really
that's how I did.
It really is other people helping you get there. It's not like you sort of having this epiphany on your own.
Well, there's quite a few things that I've done myself that no one else does, that I've just figured out by my own sort of research, which I haven't posted. So I have my own approach for sure.
Can you sort of tell us what it is in a nutshell, or no?
Yeah, in a nutshell I can, but it's not gonna actually help without being specific. But the idea is this: I think about balance a lot more than almost anyone else, I think. And so I model what I think my opponent's strategy is very specifically, and then I build a balanced strategy to exploit his strategy. But it seems like an oxymoron, right? Because how can you have a balanced and an exploitive strategy at once? That seems kind of weird. But I think that that's the way you want to be playing poker. So you take some things which you think that they're not going to change, and then you exploit those in a balanced way.
Wow. So that's real. That's real player dependent, though, right?
Yeah, and before I play someone in a tough heads-up match, I'll watch them play for a few days, figure out what their strategy is, and after every match, I break down their strategy and write up a text document and take notes and things like that.
Wow.
I'm pretty thorough that way.
Wow.
Now, where are you doing this? Are you literally just sitting right there in your apartment at your desk and grinding it out?
I just kick back and have a cup of coffee, and if no games are running, I'll just do some research, and if they are running, I'll play poker.
Wow.
So.
All right, so you run it up to 510, and I don't know, you kind of reevaluate, go back down, start killing it again. When do you really start to dip your toes into some of the nosebleed games and play some of sort of the legends along the way? When do you first have your first encounter with Durr? When do you have your first encounter with Ivy? Those guys.
Well, I sort of have two separate poker careers. So the first time was in I went to Europe with a few poker players, and I played the EPTs when I was maybe 19, 20, something like that. And during that trip, I had a big breakthrough. I was sweating a couple of other really good up-and-coming players at the time. Ben Strati, he's another Lego poker coach. I don't know if you guys know him. He doesn't play as much anymore. And this guy, Tom, who plays under Skier 5.
Okay.
And I learned a lot from them. And then I sort of had a breakthrough and ran hot and moved up from 10-20 to 25-50 to 50-100. And about that time, I was continuing to win at 51, and then there just weren't any games between 50-100 and 200-400. So I'd win a bunch of money at 50-100, and then when I felt like my bankroll was fine for 50-100, I'd take that extra money and go play frickin' Tom or Ivy at 2-400 and see how I did. And I had mixed results with that because they're obviously amazing players. But I felt like I would learn a lot doing that. And but then after that, after a while, I in late 2008, 2009, I don't know. But anyway, I ended up going on a huge downswing. A lot of it through staking. I had a lot of the big losses you saw, of famous internet guys. I had pieces of. And none of the wins. I just ran terrible staking. And also I was going back to school for the second time, so I cashed out my whole bankroll. And then last September, so September 2009, I started a new bankroll and started playing 25 cent, 50 cent, and ran that up again, and now I'm playing nosebleeds again.
Yeah, that's insane.
Hold on, let's stop right there because that is sort of an insane story. I want to go back to your staking. It seems like you're crushing the games, you're running hot, you're playing great, winning money, why ship your money around and stake people? Was it these just your boys that you wanted to put in action, or do you think it was profitable?
Well, a little bit of both, right? Because I mean, like, keep in mind, like I'm 20 years old right now, and I go and I'm winning like, you know, 6 figures plus, and I'm just like, man, I can do no wrong. You know what I mean? And so, you know, people whose opinion I respected were, you know, asking for money, and you know, I was like, man, I'm winning so much money, and these guys sound like they play even better than I do. I better get some of that. Sometimes people talk a big game and they can't deliver, and then sometimes people are really good and they just run bad. So it's hard to know what's taking.
Right. Now these games where you're putting people in, were you watching? Were you sweating the games, and you'd see them lose a $75,000 pot and you'd cringe? What was that like for you?
Oh God, no, I couldn't do that. That would just be like, that would hurt too much. So no, they just let me know.
So why did you, before you started up your second run, were you sort of in your mind done with poker for a while, or you just wanted to start over?
It was a little too much for me, I think. Like, I just wanted to live a more, like, balanced, comfortable life, as opposed to just living out of hotel rooms all the time. I've been living out of hotel rooms for, like, a year and a half. And I wanted, you know, to just have a spot that was my own, get up in the morning, you know, go somewhere, get out of the house. And, yeah, so I thought the best way to do that was just, you know, go cold turkey, not play any poker for a few months.
But couldn't you do that and still play online? I don't understand. I mean, I know you were traveling, but couldn't you just say, okay, I'm going to cut out the travel, but I'm still going to play online because I'm such a killer?
Yeah, God, yeah. Well, that's what I do now. I mean, now I'm in school and I play online all the time. But it was just like sort of a period where I wanted to, you know, take a break.
Right, I gotcha. And then what made you start, I'm sorry, Bret, what made you start at the 25 cent, 50 cent level again? I find it fascinating, and it was just so recent. I have so many questions about it. How did you find that the games changed? Were you able to employ that same strategy that you did before to run it up early on in the lower levels? How did all that go about?
Yeah, well, so I'm sitting in school, right? And I'm going to class, and I get back from class, and, like, I'm kind of an idiot because I've been traveling around the world, like, playing poker, and now I'm like, all right, I'm just going to live in a dorm and be like a normal kid or something like that. So I'm sitting in this dorm, and, like, I don't feel like a freshman in college anymore. Like, fuck. So so I go and I'm sitting in this dorm, and I'm bored as hell, and I just go and I start playing Play Money again because I want to play poker, but I told myself I wasn't going to play for money. And so I play Play Money, and I win, like, another million Play Money chips. And then someone owes me $1,000 online. I'm just like, okay, fine, send it to me on Stars. I'm just like, so instead of playing Play Money, I'll just play 25 cent, 50 cent. So this whole thing was accidental. Someone just owed me money. And so I started playing 25 cent, 50 cent because that's what I'm rolled for. Because I didn't want to deposit.
Right.
And, yeah, and I just kept moving up.
And how did your approach change from the first time you ran it up? Were you able to still do some of that same, you know, aggression, just 3-bet like crazy, or did that not work anymore, even at the lower levels?
Well, the difference now is that I was like, I'm good now. Like, the first time when I was moving up, I sucked. Like, right. I mean, I had talent, but, like, I wasn't actually, like, a polished poker player. Like, I actually know how to play. I've been playing fucking nosebleeds now, like, so I just killed it. And, like, I wasn't aggressive, I wasn't passive, I just knew what everyone had every single hand.
Was that heads up or 6-max?
That has to be a good feeling.
Anything. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just like, the game's easy when you're playing that low after playing that high.
I want to take a step back to when you ran up, you had a ton of money in your account, then you staking, you lose, you start running bad at the poker tables, you're staking, you lose a bunch of money there. Was there a depression factor that went into, like, oh my God, I had hundreds of thousands of dollars and now I'm close to broke, or I don't even know how much money you had? What was that like emotionally before you decided to quit?
I mean, I was frustrated. I was more frustrated with, like, I wanted a more balanced life more than the money. Like, I've never cared that much about money, which has definitely been an asset with poker, so I just really don't care that much. I don't get worked out about poker. Besides,
so it was more of like a sort of just a life decision you wanted to make.
I just wanted to try it out. I don't know. Whenever I feel like something's getting stale in my life, like, I try to mix it up. I don't know.
Did you?
And so you ran up to 50, 100, and then you're back down playing 50 cent a dollar. there you are, Sauce1234, where people like, dude, what are you doing? Or people hitting up on chat, or your boys like, what the hell's wrong with you? I'll put you in this 10-20 game.
Yeah, probably, but I don't know. I was just playing for fun. I mean, bottom line, I play for fun. Like, I love playing poker more than I think anyone else. And so when I play, if I can play high, that's good because it's the competition which does it for me mostly. And look, I'm not playing, freaking StarCraft 2 because I need to make some money here. Like, I don't want to sit around the computer and do something like that. I mean, obviously the money matters because I can live my life because of poker. But yeah, I mean, I want to play the best if I can, and if I can do it in a smart way.
Now, have you practiced game selection along the way? Were there certain guys as you were going up at certain levels that you're like, you know what, I'm just not going to sit with this guy?
Yeah, well, somewhat. I mean, it was tough coming out the second time because no one would play me because they remembered me from before when I was playing 500,000. They're like, hell no, I'm not going to play you with 510.
Right.
I was just like, I can't blame you, man. So I ended up having to play tougher players at 1020 than I do now at 100, 200 because there's less competition for fish at 100, 200 in some ways. Or relative fish. There's more gamblers up there, I guess is a better way to put it.
Right. Who are some of the players out there that you respect the most?
Right now, I think, well, there's a few. Jungle Man is friggin' amazing.
Right.
I mean, he's a legit prodigy. Like, he's really friggin' good.
What makes him so good? Just sort of his innate ability to play the game, or?
I have no idea, man. I mean, it's hard because I talk to him a lot about strategy, and he has good things to say, and I don't know why he says what he says, and it's hard to figure out why he does what he does. But I mean, if you play against him, it's just so difficult. Like, he just makes your life hell. So I don't know.
Well, I think isn't he? I mean, we interviewed him. I mean, he's probably, like you say, a legit prodigy. I mean, he's probably really close to a genius, right?
Well, yeah. I mean,
as far as math, or no?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know him personally, so I hesitate to say anything. I saw the interview you guys did with him.
Right.
And yeah, he definitely seems like he seems to be in his own world a little bit.
Right.
In the way he thinks about poker, but that really works for him.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but Tom was the same way. People said the same thing about Tom. He's sort of in his own world, and it's kind of weird how are you sort of similar to those guys, or are you a little different?
I think I'm a little different because I'm more self-critical, and I also listen to other people more. I'm not afraid to learn from other people, and I definitely have a lot of. I think the way I actually play is very unique, but the way I got there is less unique. I borrowed from a lot of different styles along the way, and then added some things of my own.
Right. What I found interesting reading about you, Ben, was that you said that you never really considered yourself like a natural poker player. Like, you taught yourself. Your poker tracker and your stats and your posting hands.
He's read 20 books, poker books. I mean, that's absurd in its own right.
Well, I mean, he's read everything that's out there, and he's kind of picked it up along the way. But you didn't consider yourself just somebody who just naturally was good at it from the beginning. Is that right?
That's exactly right. I mean, God, I saw you guys interviewed Zygmunt, right?
Yeah.
And I think he's like the classic example of this guy who's just he's just a beast, and he gives the impression that he doesn't put a lot of work in. Maybe he does. I have no idea. But it seems like he's someone who's really talented, and I was not like that. If I didn't work on my play for a lot of hours, then I definitely wouldn't be where I am now.
Right.
I wanted to ask you about guys like sort of Zygmunt and even Ivy. I mean, you say in your blog which is on Lego Poker, that you're putting in hundreds upon thousands of hours of studying hands, just grinding out different situations. But it seems like guys like Zygmunt, Ivy, are they, specifically Ivy, is he not putting in the time? Is he just jumping on the computer and owning people for millions? I mean, what are your thoughts there?
Well, I mean, I have a theory about Ivy. I mean, there's a couple things about Ivy. Like, the first is that, I learned all this stuff about poker in, 3 years, 4 years. Ivy's been playing for 12, and for the first, 10 years Ivy played poker. Ivy was playing poker 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can get to this. You can get good without ever picking up a book, but you just have to play way more hands and learn the hard way. And I just didn't want to learn the hard way because I just don't have time, you know. So I felt like that was a shortcut to getting good.
But Ivy's one of those guys who was able to make that transition from, you know, learning and playing all the time in Atlantic City, then eventually Vegas, and playing live, but then also just being a killer online. Most guys aren't able to do that.
No, well, the other thing about Ivy's an amazing gambler. And I say gambler like just about knowing game selector, I guess would be a way to put it. Like, he'll play anyone any day, but if he thinks that you're beating him that day, like if he thinks you're playing your A game and he thinks that he's playing a C game and things are going bad for him, he'll just quit you and come back for you another day.
Right.
So, I mean, and he never tilts, and he always is incredibly focused, and he's just like, yeah, it seems like he's just really good that way. And then also he's just, you know, absurdly talented.
Right. Who are some of the other guys? You mentioned Jungle Man. You mentioned Ivy, Tom, Phil Galfond, the Dang Brothers. Any of those guys, anything jump out at you?
Yeah, I mean, Galfond's game impresses me a lot. Like, yeah, I mean, I was playing him in PLO yesterday, and he was just killing me. So, I mean, and also, yeah, and so I like his approach a lot. I definitely try to, of any of the top pros, I think that's the approach that I would copy the most, like Galfond, and then like the Brian Hastings, Cole South, you know, Brian Townsend, those kind of guys.
What approach is that exactly?
Yeah. What's similar about their approach?
Where there's a dialogue between a lot of other good players, and they're going and they're studying and they're looking at their play, and they're not relying on instinct as much. They're using, you know, study to sort of guide their instincts to the table.
Do you see a pattern though in their play too, or no?
Oh no, they all play completely different. I'm talking about it how they learn about poker.
Right.
Now, where's your PLO game at? Because, you know, a lot of times when I watch you play online, you know, you're playing the huge No Limit Hold'em games. How would you compare your No Limit Hold'em game to your PLO game?
I'm getting pretty good heads up PLO because I've always been my best game's always been heads up of anything. 6-max PLO I just play when the game is good, and you know, I can beat most 6-max PLO games, and I think that my heads up PLO game is, I'm not one of the top, you know, 5 or 10 in the world, but I think that I'm pretty tough. I mean, I play quite a few guys at the big stakes in PLO now heads up. You know, take shots at people like I'll play Zygmunt sometimes. I'll play who else have I played recently? You know, Luck Express. Yeah, Marcelo, the Italian. And you know, so I'm sort of trying to see how I do against those really top players.
How do you decide? How do you decide when you're going to play those guys? Is it just like the mood that you're in? You see them that they're sitting. I mean, I would think I would have to get pretty psyched up to know. Okay, tonight I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play, you know, Zygmunt. You know, whatever, 200, 400, whatever the hell it is you guys are playing, 400, 800. Do you have to get mentally like ready for that, or can you just do it spur of the moment?
I can do it spur of the moment, but I'll just play. You know, I'll just play a few hundred hands, and if I feel like I'm getting beat, then I'll quit them. And if I feel like I'm doing okay and you know, I feel comfortable, then I'll just keep playing. And I think it's worth it to take a shot at almost anyone and just see how you feel.
What's your bankroll management like? Because you said earlier that, you know, you stuck to a pretty strict bankroll management as you were coming up. I mean, and it's no secret that even the biggest names are going broke all the time playing these 500, 1,000 games. Are you rolled for these games, or are you just continually taking shots where you could go broke from day to day?
Yeah, I mean, I'm rolled. I like to have, you know, 50, 100 buy-ins for the games I play most of the time.
So you're still pretty strict with that.
Yeah, relatively. Just because, like, even the worst players who are playing 200, 400 are still, you know, so aggressive usually that you can't just be screwing around with 20 buy-ins to your names. You're going to go broke even if you're the best player in the world.
Do you have a stop loss for yourself, or is it all feel every day?
One. Yeah, I don't have a strict stop loss because I just don't need those rules because I don't tilt very much. So it's like whenever I just feel like the match is going out of my control, or whenever I feel like I'm not confident in my reads or anything like that, I just quit.
So if you feel like you played really well, but just ran bad. You're okay with it. You go hang with your boys, go to the movies, go drinking. No big deal. You're not gonna go crazy. You're not gonna kick the dog. Nothing like that.
Nah, sometimes I'll get buried for like 20 buy-ins, and it'll be like 100, couple 100,000, and I'll just go out and go to the bar after and have a normal night. It's like not.
You don't worry that I suck now.
Well, I mean, maybe if it happens day in and day out, and I have a couple months where I'm getting buried most days, then I'm gonna start to wonder. But yeah, if it's just a day, a couple days, I'm not gonna be too worried.
Yeah, because Jungle Man was telling us after his big match with Isildur, which he lost a ton of cash, and right after that match, he lost again and a few more times, and he started thinking to himself, you know what, maybe I'm just not going to be able to beat this game anymore. Have you ever had that thought in the back of your head when you sit down to play?
Not for a long time. But a lot of that too is because I'm not afraid to move down, right? So I probably am not going to be able to beat like the 500,000 game against the best players in the world. Like maybe I will, but I probably won't be able to. Like let's be honest, fuck.
Right.
So if that happens, I'll just move down. I'll just keep playing poker. That's what a smart gambler does. If you can't beat a game and you can't figure out how to beat a game, then you just move down and keep playing.
How do you know what amount to set aside for like living expenses, for like travel, for savings, for the future? How do you know how to manage all that? Because you want to have as much available to you so you can play as high as you want.
Yeah, well, for me, it's just I live pretty simply, especially like I don't buy many things with my winnings because I just don't see the point. I don't know, my parents were a couple of hippies, right? So like they didn't raise me to be to buy a lot of expensive things. Not that I think there's anything wrong with that at all. I just haven't wanted to.
Yeah, but you want to have money set aside, though. I'm sorry, Brett. You want to have money set aside, right, for the future. So I mean, every year you should be investing, that sort of thing. How do you decide? Okay, I'm going to take $100,000 this year and set it aside, or how do you decide that?
Oh, I cash out a ton of money. Like it's not like I went broke the first time I played Nosebleeds. Like I cashed out a lot. Yeah.
What kind of car are you driving now?
I drive a RAV4. Just a Toyota RAV4.
That's pretty modest for the winnings that you've amassed.
You don't feel like showing off? You don't feel like bringing your girlfriend over and showing her your full tilt account or anything like that?
No, because I'm too paranoid about people. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm pretty paranoid about having people, like mooch off me or just hang out with me for money or things like that. That's just always felt really fake and sort of scary to me. So I'm very careful not to be ostentatious because I don't want to be in a position where I'm not sure how to judge people when they are around me. So that's kind of a weird thing, but that's how I feel.
So your fellow students, most of them have no idea that you're this pro poker player, this beast online.
Oh God, no.
Like, do you? Most of the people in your class have no idea.
No, definitely not.
That's sick.
So no one. I mean, so when you meet a chick and she's like, I mean, what do you guys talk about? Like class? You don't tell her, hey, look, I just won $800,000 yesterday.
Well, I guess it depends how many drinks I've had, but for sure, like,
right. That has to be part. Like if you're hollering at a chick, that has to be part of your game. Like, look, I'm not just one of these normal donk students, and I got hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, come on now.
Well, I mean, first I have a girlfriend right now, so like it's not really a problem. But back in the day, yeah, I mean, not very much though. Actually, I'm proud of being able to support myself with poker, but as far as like going into numbers, I don't really do that.
Right. Is this something?
How does your girl handle it? How does your girl handle it? Does she know how high you're playing, how much you're winning and losing?
I don't think she wants to know. She wants to know that I have I tell her that I pay for school with it, and we're able to go on vacation with it and things like that. But I don't tell her how much I've won or lost every day.
Right. Is this how you plan to make the majority of your money, for the next 30, 40 years, or do you plan to become a doctor? Are there other things you want to do?
No idea, really. I just don't know.
Right. But you could see yourself being a professional gambler, a poker player for, the indefinite future. That'd be no problem.
Yeah, I mean, skill-wise, I think I can do it. I don't know if I'll want to, but I think that for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be playing poker.
Why waste your time going to class? I mean, if there's a juicy game running where you can make $100,000, why go to econ class? I mean, that has to be minus EV for you.
Yeah, but I don't want to think about my life in terms of EV. Like, fuck, it's my life. Like,
right.
My life isn't about numbers or money. My life is about what makes me happy, you know? I mean, maybe the reason why I don't tilt at poker is because I don't think of poker and EV as the be-all and end-all of my life, you know? Like, it's just what I do.
Right.
Why don't you talk a little bit about your tilt control? You can't be tilted? Are there days where you go to bed bitter?
Yeah, there's a few. I mean, more. It's tired than bitter. If I'm playing a guy for 4,000 hands heads up and I get my ass beat, I mean, I think you'd have to be a robot not to be a little bitter. But
right.
So I'll be pissed that I lost. I'll be a little bit pissed about the money, and then I'll be just tired as hell. And so I'll be, you know. But I don't carry it with me. You know, I'll eat an hour away from the table. You know, go watch TV, read a book, and then I'm okay the next morning. So.
You know when people say that poker's like No Limit Hold'em is close to being solved, I don't even know that I can wrap my head around that concept about how a game could be solved like that. But do you agree with that notion that it's close now, or do you think that you'll always have an edge as long as you're around and there will always be fish out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's just not even close to being solved. I think people who say that are just flat out wrong and aren't thinking clearly. It's just not even close to true.
Is it even possible? I don't even know that I can wrap my head around that.
Well, it's possible. It's pretty much solved for stack sizes less than like 10 big blinds heads up, or less than 20 or 30 big blinds heads up. You can get close, but that's not the kind of poker I play. I try to play, with as deep stacks as I can, and then it's just not even. So the way to wrap your head around it is that, like, game theory can tell you can solve games, basically, is the easiest way to put it. And if you read Chen and Ankerman's book, Mathematics of Poker, they basically detail how to solve No Limit Hold'em with very short stacks, and then they attempt to solve situations with bigger stacks. And there's a lot of like important ideas in that book for solving games, but it's also very dense and difficult to get through.
Right.
And I want to ask you about sort of your dreams of playing live. I mean, you just blogged about maybe a couple months ago that even though you stay at home and you basically print money online, you do have those like donk dreams of going out to Vegas, winning the main event, traveling the world, playing in tropical, destinations, big buy-ins, being staked by a site. Why even go out to the World Series and grind those tournaments? Is becoming one of those big-name live pros, is that a goal of yours, or is it something you just wouldn't mind?
Well, it's like sometimes I get that little like itch in the back of my mind, when you see guys whose games I know that I could just pick apart if we played live or online, No Limit, and who've been to a couple tournaments, and then they're just showered with praises by the masses of poker fans out there. And so in a way it's tempting to want recognition for all the work I put in. But at the same time, I'm more interested in recognition from my peers. And then I may go out to Vegas and play big live games at some point, but the problem is just in the summertime I want to be outside. I mean, I want to go hiking. I want to go camping. I want to, it sucks to be cooped up in the casino all summer.
Right. Do your buddies hit you up for lessons? Your buddies that know what you do, they go, oh my God, look at this guy. This is just my buddy that I grew up with. He's killing it. Why can't I do this? Do they ask you for lessons? Have you tried that? Have any of them had any success?
I've tried pretty hard. A lot of my friends who've been broke just in life, I've given them like boot camps for like a week or so, and I'll meet with them every day.
Right.
And try to teach my buddies from high school, because I'm still like best friends with a lot of my buddies from high school. And I've tried to teach a lot of people, but some people they just. I guess that's part of why I'm talented at poker, is that I'm always able to improve, and I feel like no matter how much I try to teach some people about poker, it just doesn't sink in the right way. And I don't really know what to do about that.
Is it? And it's not because they're not intelligent people, right?
Oh no, they're totally intelligent people, and like in a lot of ways they're more intelligent than I am. I guess it's just something about poker's like very multidisciplinary too. You know, you think about psychology, you think about math, you think about logic, you think about everything.
Right.
And putting all that together is pretty tough.
What about a site deal, or playing on Poker After Dark or High Stakes Poker? Is that, or do you want any of those things, or are you too busy just playing nosebleed online games?
I mean, mostly I'd rather play nosebleeds online, right? But maybe sometime I'll give it a shot.
Are you still coaching?
Not right now. And a lot of the times when I've tried to coach, the people who I've tried to coach just haven't wanted the kind of coaching that I give. Because I ask people to do a lot of work, and I ask them to do their own work, and I tell them what they need to do instead of just like teaching them a few tricks. And so mostly what my coaching ends up in is, I say, I want you to put the amount of time that I put into poker and think about it the same way. And they say, no, I just want to win more money. I say, well, I can't help you then.
Right.
Yeah, but there has to be a very few select people who can afford $1,200 an hour. Because, I mean, that's what I read that you charge.
Oh, well, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, but...
That's what the market will bear. Bret, don't hate.
That's what I mean, right? So I'm just like...
I'm not hating.
No,
I love it.
I did this as a joke the other day, right? Because I'm like, who the hell would pay me fucking, $1,000 an hour for poker coaching? So I just kept... Because I didn't want to coach anyone. Because I just didn't want to... I didn't think it was that fun. And so I just kept raising my rates to see if people would still keep paying that much. And they just kept coming in and trying to pay me. I was just like... I'll do what I can for you, buddy,
But you're
now,
still...
are these really just rich guys with money, or are they like hardcore poker players?
These are hardcore online grinders, yeah.
Wow.
And
you're still making videos, correct, or no?
No, videos scare the hell out of me because I know when I play a guy heads up a lot of times if he makes videos, I'll put his videos on in the background, so it's like he's talking to me in the background, so I can like kind of get in his head more.
Wow.
I'll do things like that, and I'll watch all his videos before I play him. And I just picture people doing that to me, and also they pay me a lot less money than I make per hour for a video, and so it's just like it's not as fun, and they don't pay me enough, so I'm just not gonna do it.
Right. That makes sense.
Can you give us like the top 3 or 4 heads up no limit hold'em players, like the nosebleed players?
Yeah, so that's got to be, well, like, the straight-up no-limit players who are, like, no-limit specialists, that's going to be, like, Jungle Man for sure. Ike, Ike is, he plays on Love, the WNBA on Full Tilt.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know who he is.
He's a tough player. The Ashman is really good when he's playing his A-game. And also, obviously, Jungle Man, I think, is the best one out there. Did I say him already?
Yeah, you said him first.
And,
that's right.
Yeah, he's the best. Oh, and Nuts and Ho is really good too. Yeah.
What about PLO?
Yeah.
PLO, it's tough because I just don't play those top guys, so I hesitate to give an opinion. But from what I hear, Ivy and Galfond and Patrick Antonius and Durr and all those guys are really tough.
What about Patrick's game in No Limit Hold'em? Sorry, Eric. What about his? I mean, you've been playing him sort of recently. I mean, I could be wrong if my memory's correct.
Yeah, I mean, I'll play Patrick in No Limit Hold'em for sure. He plays good. He plays real good No Limit Hold'em, but I think he does a few things wrong. And I'll definitely play him.
Who adjusts the best of the top guys? Who, every time you play him, he's got a new trick, or he's adjusting to you maybe just as well as you're adjusting to him?
I think that's kind of what I'm best at, actually.
Right.
I think other guys adjust, but I think that I do incredibly drastic adjustments all the time. And that's a lot of times I'll play a guy and get beat for the first 4,000 hands, and then I'll figure out how to beat him over the next 5,000 more, and keep adjusting.
Right.
See, the crazy stuff he... Go ahead.
No, that's it. Keep going.
Well, what I was going to say is, I was reading your blog. I mean, you do some pretty wacky stuff that I wouldn't think that guys like you are doing. Like, you took some time to 3-bet every hand in No Limit Hold'em and PLO just to put yourself in these crazy spots. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? How did that experiment go?
Well, I mean, I actually won in no limit, and I lost in PLO. But I didn't throw every hand. I threw every hand I was going to play. So if I decided to play a hand, I was going to
Gotcha.
do that. And the reason I did that was I discovered through using Hold'em Manager that I could win money 3-betting worse hands than I could call with. So, like, if I called with a hand like, say, 3-8 of diamonds, I would lose money on average with it. But if I 3-bet it, I would make money. And I also looked and saw that, like, a hand like Queen Jack offsuit, I would make money if I called with it, but I'd make even more money if I 3-bet it. And so I sat back and I was like, hey, why don't I just 3-bet everything? Because I'm making more money when I 3-bet.
Right.
And I was just like, but everyone says this has got to be wrong. So everyone was making fun of me for this. And I said, well, I'm going to try it and see what happens. And so I tried it and played good players against it. And I don't think it worked great, but I think that it taught me some important things.
And this was all heads up when you did this?
Yeah, this is all heads up.
Gotcha.
What about 2+2? I mean, it seems like you're still posting, at least every now and again. It seems like a lot of the big name nosebleed players just they don't post anymore, for one reason or another.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's mostly like I really like the idea of the forums. In that, I like the idea of like free exchange of information and ideas without, with just no real barriers, And now there's a lot of, like sort of parasites on the forums who are just trying to pick your brain and, get better. And that's why most people don't post anymore. But I still try to give back to the forums a bit. I sort of have a soft spot for them because I really like the open concept idea of them.
Because it's similar to videos, though, right? I mean, you make a video, you're exposing your thought process, you're posting. I see you're critiquing a lot of hands, you're jumping in there. It's kind of the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's stupid. Like, it's totally negative EV. It's not helping me much. And like, yeah, there's no logical like way I can say that this is a good thing. I mean, it's just something that I do when I'm kicking around on the internet and I'm bored,
Right. Gotcha.
And, yeah.
So what's like the rest of tonight going to be like for you, and maybe this weekend? What's on tap?
I have an exam tomorrow, which I'm very unprepared for, and tonight I'm going to my friend's magic show, and then we're going to this haunted house in the country.
So you're preparing for the exam,
nice.
right?
Well, well, I just decided I don't give a shit about this one.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man. Thanks for joining us on the show. We sort of went after you, and we wanted to talk to you, and it's been fun. You seem like a little different than a lot of the other high stakes players that we've talked to. You seem a little more like casual and sort of chill. I don't know. Maybe you're not. I mean, I don't even know you, but just through this interview, you seem have a slightly different personality than some of the other guys.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the ability or the luck that I have to be able to beat these big poker games is just the craziest thing in the world. It's a funny thing. And, it's a good time, and I'm happy that I can do it, but that doesn't make me think that I'm a genius or that I'm the smartest person in the whole world about everything. It just means that I'm good at poker.
Right.
And I think that, so I just sort of chill.
Well, keep doing it, my friend. It's a pleasure watching. It's been great talking to you, and just know that we're watching you, and I don't know, we'll get you on again in the future.
All right, cool. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Anytime.
It's good
Thanks
talk.
a lot, Ben.